A federal judge in San Diego has issued a ruling in regard to Donald Trump's zero tolerance policy and how he separated children from their parents as they were seeking asylum at the border. Now, this judge, US District Judge Dana Sabra, argues that not only does Trump have to stop separating these families, which his executive order essentially indicates he will do, but there needs to be more specificity in regard to how these children will be reunited with their parents. So the federal judge in San Diego blocked any future family separations and ordered the government to reunite all separated families within 30 days, adding that children under 5 years old who have been torn from their parents must be returned within 14 days, and all parents must be put in phone contact with their children within 10 days. So this case was brought to the federal judge by the ACLU. They're representing 3 different families that have suffered the consequences of Trump's horrible draconian policies. And I want to give you some of their stories because it gives you a sense of how disastrous this has been for some people. A mother from Guatemala has only spoken once to her child since they were separated in mid-May, and also an asylum seeker from Honduras does not know where her daughter is and has not been able to speak to her at all. And so in this ruling, the judge also said, yeah, executive order is not going far enough because there has been no plan put in place in regard to how these people are going to be reunited with their children.
Yeah, so I want to build on that. First of all, as the lawyers themselves explained, that we're arguing to make sure that they could bring the families together as quickly as possible. They said, look, some families do talk to each other a couple of times a week, some rarely, but others, they have no idea where their kids are.
God.
And the judge agreed, and the judge said, where was the plan on how to reunite the families? So you guys split them up. Now, we're in a court of law. Show me the plan where you're going to put them back together. They're like, what did I tell you about Trump? Totally incompetent. Couldn't manage his way out of a wet paper bag. He has no management skills, none. So if you're gonna split the kids from their families, at a bare minimum, shouldn't you think through, oh wait, how do we get them back together? Nope, didn't come up with a plan. So this judge was appointed by a well-known liberal named George W. Bush.
Yes.
So it is not a liberal judge, it is a conservative judge. And still, the judge is like, so wait, you're going to separate families, which, by the way, the United States Supreme Court has ruled over and over again is actually the most sacrosanct thing there is, separating kids from their parents. They're like, the Supreme Court is obsessed with property rights in this capitalist country, and they value that tremendously. This is valued so much higher than property rights. That gets conservatives' attention. They're like, even more than property rights? Yeah, I mean, imagine if they took your kids away. You'd go ballistic. Imagine if a liberal government, big government came and separated you from your kids, right? So conservative judges rightly go, no, you have to have an extraordinary standard for why you have a compelling state interest to separate these families. And then you come into my court and tell me you don't even have any plan to put them back together, and you can't find some of them, and some of the parents have not spoken to their kids and have no idea where they are. No, this policy is not going to stand. That is not constitutional.
Yeah.
And so one more thing that you got to understand about the law, and I wish Donald Trump understood it. The Fifth Amendment guarantees all of us due process, but not just citizens. And I see right-wingers making this mistake all the time online. Unsurprisingly, they don't know much about the law, but they go, well, they're not citizens, they don't have any rights.
Yes, they do.
That's actually not true. It's because you've never read the Constitution. The Fifth Amendment guarantees due process to persons, not citizens. And there's good reason for that. So if there's a tourist here who's not a citizen, or name any other category that's not a citizen, we can't just shoot them in the head and go, whatever, you don't have any rights. You don't have rights to due process. Or more relevant here, the government can't just lock them up and not give you due process. So you have to show that before a court, and they might have different rights than a citizen, but they got to go to court. They have to have due process. And here, Trump keeps saying, Well, what do we need judges for? We're going to get them from barbershops. What do we need them for?
Oh, I actually do want to go to that video. But before we go to that video, I have to make 2 points before I forget. So first point is, yes, you're absolutely right. This federal judge who issued this ruling was a George W. Bush appointee, which makes you realize how far to the right the country has gone under the Trump administration. And during the Bush administration, I remember thinking, oh my God, we are such a right-wing country.
That's right.
Things have gotten even more extreme to the right. Second point I wanted to make was in response to what you said about Trump not having a plan. Trump never has a plan. Trump does things for political gains. Everything he does is for show. You think that he sits down and thinks about the nuance of any issue or thinks about a real strategy or has any interest, any intellectual curiosity about the proper way to go about policy? No, of course not. He's doing things because it looks tough to his base and his base will eat it up. They will eat it up. He's being tough on immigration. They love it. They don't care if there's no plan to reunite the kids with a family. They don't care that it's actually costing them a lot more in taxpayer money to deal with this ridiculous zero tolerance policy. They don't care, they just want the toughness. And the same goes for North Korea. He did it all just to make it seem as though he's a tough guy and he's a good negotiator with North Korea, when North Korea hasn't given us anything. In fact, there's a story out today where satellite images show that North Korea has continued on with their nuclear development, okay? So
because he's a schmuck.
He's a schmuck, yes. Now, if you want further proof of his schmuckness, take a look at him talking about hiring judges to deal with this immigration issue.
Somebody touches our land, we now take them to a court, to a judge. They want us to choose 5,000 judges. How do you choose 5,000 judges? Can you imagine the corruption just from a normal standpoint, just common sense? Can you imagine the corruption? Go to the barbershop, grab somebody, make them a judge. Everybody's being made a judge. They want 5,000 judges.
Okay, let's break it down. First of all, reporters in the country trying to figure out what on God's green earth he's talking about when he references 5,000 judges. They could not find any reference to any proposal that involves 5,000 judges. To give you context, the number of judges we have on immigration issues is a little over 300 for the whole country. Okay, federal judges is 1,300, that's it. 1,300. Who's saying, let's bring in 5,000 new federal judges to do this? No one, he just made it up because he's a pathological liar. And he's like, is it a good show? Am I getting good ratings? I said 5,000 judges. That seems like a big number. Did I do that right? Right? No, you didn't do it right because you're an imbecile and you don't care about anything at all. And then look at the mindset. What, are we just gonna grab them from barbershops? Why? Why would we grab judges from barbershops?
Is that where you think judges come from? Like, does that guy know how to do a good fade? Yeah, judge. That's it.
And he goes, and this is the second time he's emphasized this, where he's like, imagine the corruption. Yeah, why would there be corruption in appointing of judges? Why? Because Trump thinks, I know when I'm dealing with a judge, I want to do a little bit of corruption. So if they're getting new judges, everybody's going to want to do corruption. Because that's what's in his head. It wouldn't have crossed my mind. Would it have crossed your mind? Hey, we need more judges at the border. Oh, people are obviously going to buy him off. Buy him off for what?
Right.
Right? So, I mean, the people coming in have no money at all.
They have no money, no power, no nothing. Like, they're going to corrupt the federal judge, the immigration judges. By the way, so there's been one person who has proposed hiring more immigration judges. That has been Ted Cruz. That was his proposal. Nowhere near 5,000 judges, by the way. Trump completely made that number up. And by the way, you know who wanted more immigration judges? The schmuck who wanted to prosecute anyone who tried to come to the United States even though seeking asylum. Zero tolerance policy. What do you think prosecution means? I mean, Trump should know. Trump should know better than anyone in the country what prosecution means.
But that's exactly it, Anna. He doesn't believe in due process. So that's why when they asked him, well, how do you think you're going to implement this policy? Because you want zero tolerance means we have to prosecute the people coming across the border instead of sending them back. And he's like, well, he literally said, what do we need judges for? We're going to do trials without judges?
I'm just gonna put myself in the shoes of a rosé all day girl and say, I just can't with this guy. I just can't.
And by the way, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, when asked about it, she's like, due process doesn't necessarily mean judges. Yes, it does. That's exactly what it means.
Unbelievable.
That's exactly what it means. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below. Then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.